folks, and welcome to my 3-part tutorial on how to shoot a waterfall. Today we're at the Gulfstream Provincial Park next to Victoria. So I came down here with my Manfrotto tripod, my Canon 7D with my wide angle Tokine lens. It's an 11 to 16 millimeter f2.8, and decided to just stay at this specific spot here to take a picture of this beautiful waterfall behind me. So the whole idea behind this picture is I want to capture a little bit of the water coming down in front of the camera as well as the waterfall behind. So to do so, with my lens, I set it up on manual focus and at infinity. So meaning that I have a good range of clarity from all the way here to the waterfall. And then I set up my camera this way. I have a 0.5 second shutter speed, f14, and an ISO of 100. I will not use any filter today because it's cloudy. It's a nice overcast day, which in my opinion is one of the best weather to do that type of shooting. So basically with my tripod angled this way and that nice feature with a sidebar, I'm able to capture a lot of that water. 0.5 second is just perfect, so I can see some movement flowing down. If I go any slower than that, 1, 2, 3 seconds, then I will start to see a white flow and I won't be able to see much details or flowing motion in there. I still want to capture a bit of that motion. That's why I chose a 0.5 seconds. As the water falls, 0.5 seconds, it's enough. It's flowing very fast and it's going to be perfect for that as well. I will take a second and a third picture more likely, and the reason being is I want to capture a bit of the scene on the side, so all the fern and the trees and whatnot. So let's take the picture. I have my camera ready here. I kept the cap on. I have a 2-second delay, so I can basically just take the cap off, wait 2 seconds, and take my picture. So I'm going to take a look to make sure I'm satisfied with this. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to look mainly at the water feature in front of me. This is exactly what I wanted. So now I'm going to take my second exposure and I'm going to go change that to 0.8 seconds. I didn't change my x-stop, didn't change my shutter, my ISO, sorry, only the shutter speed. And then I'm going to take a third one and I'm going to go 1 second. So just that subtle change here between 0.8 second and 1 second I wanted to do mainly because I'm not looking at the big screen here on the computer. Once I get back later on, it's going to be easier to take a look, see what type of exposure I need to use to work with. So that's it for the shoot, folks. I want to keep it short and sweet. The next step will be the workflow from my camera to the computer and then the editing part. See you in a bit.
So I'm back home on my MacBook Pro. I have my Canon 7D plugged in my laptop, and I just want to go ahead and show you my workflow. So this is the part 2 of this video. Basically, if you take a look here on the left side, this is the folder I have on my catalog, Lightroom catalog, and the folder I have on my computer. So Canon 7D, I normally have it year by year, and what I normally do is I back my picture throughout the year on an external hard drive. But what I do is after the end of the year I will delete all the picture I have onto my laptop and just keep the one I want to work with. So all those folders you see there are the folders that I just keep throughout the year to work on. So basically now we're in 2016. So far I have like 3 folders. So what I'm going to do here is I will import the picture we've been taking today. So the source is my camera, and you can tell we're looking at the picture of the waterfalls as well as other picture that I taken along the way. There was a nice bridge and a railroad track we went to afterwards. So anyway, those are the picture I will import. So on the right side here is the destination where it will be created onto my computer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose the folder 2016, and I pre-created a folder called Gulfstream. Mainly for the Gulfstream part, and I will put all those pictures in that folder. So simple system worked great for me, and this is how I work. So once that work is done, we will be able to transfer, or actually to work on this picture into Lightroom, and then just work with Photoshop or Photomatic Pro or different type of plugins we have set up here. So it is a great base, Lightroom, to have your picture in your catalog based at. So we'll look at editing some picture in a few moments here. I went ahead and I deleted a bunch of picture. Now I went through and I decided to start working on this specific picture. I like the composition into this one, and the first thing I've noticed with this picture is this nice actually motion in the water. This is what I wanted with the wide angle, and you can see the waterfall behind, and it's a great picture to start working on. So I'll start working with Lightroom, and then I'll go and do the work in Photoshop. You can tell the limitation and you'll see the difference afterwards. So I'll try to bring it to this level. So if you take a look between the two pictures here, what we can notice is there is a lot more color, and we can actually see a little bit more into the water. So the whole idea here is I'm looking at this picture, I see it's a little dark and it's lacking in color. Alright, so in the develop module, what I did is I use mainly brushes. If you take a look at my panel here, at this, just to contrast a little bit the shadows, but didn't do a whole lot. In the colors, I had to work with the colors and to bring more green and get the leaves to pop a little bit more in the background. Here there's a bit of red and orange, and I created a little vignette. And with the brushes, if I take a look at this brush that I created for the background here, it's basically the exposure and the tint. So I added a little bit of a green tint, and it's all I did for the background brush. And for the foreground of the water, I played with the shadows, the whites, and a little bit of clarity to add some contrast. So basically, if we start from scratch, I started by putting this picture straight. I was looking around, it was a little crooked. Now I don't really like the fact that I'm cutting a lot of the water on the edge there, but it's actually not too bad. But we're going to start working with this. So what I normally do is I leave that lag as is, and I'll start with the brushes right away, and then I can fine-tune with the main panel afterwards. So it's a little dark in the background, so what I'm going to start by doing is add up a little bit of a, cranking up the exposure just a touch to bring a little bit of light to this background. Now I will try to paint around the waterfall to leave that waterfall white. If I add some tint into the waterfall, what's going to happen is the waterfall will become green, and it's not what I'm looking for. Now with the color, we're going to start by adding a little bit of color green. So what I normally do is I go all the way down, all the way up, and find somewhere in the middle that don't look too fake, too weird or whatever. So if I kind of play around, kind of like how green this looks. Okay, so then what we're going to do afterwards is maybe play up the saturation, bring it up just a notch. See, all the way up's too much, maybe like 10 or so. And then we will press done for this brush. Look, the before and after. Right away we can tell it's a little bit more color, looks a little better. And then the waterfall is going to pop it up a little bit more. We're going to create another brush now for the water. What I will do here is bring the shadows up quite a bit and bring the exposure down. I will double tap on the exposure to bring it down to 0. It's a little quick tip for you guys. And by doing that, I will paint the water everywhere, and again leave the waterfall and the rocks and everything else, right? So then I will go in my slider and find somewhere which I find that brings the water, and we're gonna add clarity to it to kind of like increase the contrast a little bit. So too much again won't look good, so find a happy medium around maybe there, and then with the whites, just a little bit more white into it, just a notch. So I'm looking at the foreground here, and I'm kind of happy with this. If I crank up the saturation just a notch, see, maybe that's just 15 looks pretty good. I am happy with this, so I press done. I got look before and after. You can see a little bit more details, a little brighter. Again, it looks pretty good. So now I'm happy with my brushes. What I will do is I will go to my main panel and start playing with the colors. So the luminance. So see what's going to happen if I bring down the green or bring up the green. You can tell it changes a whole lot. So what I want to probably do here is just bring it up so I can actually see a little bit more details or see those little branches in the moss. So by bringing it up maybe around 40 or so, that's good. We'll do the same thing with the yellow and see the yellow. You can tell the water and the rocks are affected quite a bit by that. So we're going to bring it maybe to maybe 15, 16. Same thing with the orange. The orange is not much happening there, so I'll probably leave it there. The red, it's going to be affected by the leaves. That we will leave it for the luminance. In the saturation with the color now, I will look into the red, and there's not much red into this picture. It's probably more orange and yellow. So if I do this, you can tell the difference now in the rocks in the background a little bit. So I'm just going to crank it up just a notch. And the yellow, now the yellow is affected a whole lot, right? So I don't want to mess too much around, but I can bring it up just a notch perhaps to bring a little bit more color in those rocks in the background. The green now for the saturation. We don't want to oversaturate the green, but again, perhaps a little bit of a boost will look very good in there. Alright, so I'm actually very pleased with, again, before and after. You can tell we brought some life into this picture, so it's actually very nice. And then if we want to, we can see what a little clarity does. I don't like it, I'll leave it like that. And to finish, a little touch, if you want to create a vignette. Not a vignette, if you go too far, again, it looks kind of bad, but sometimes just a little vignette like this, 15 or so, it really drags your eye towards the middle, and in this case is the waterfall. So it's actually a very good amount to my taste. So if you look now, the before and the after, we didn't do a whole lot. It was quick, but we actually created a waterfall scene where we had a little bit more green. We can see a little bit more of the water. It's a little bit more vibrant. So very quick, a quick crop to get the picture back straight. And this is all I'm gonna do to this picture in Lightroom. Okay, now so let's go into Photoshop. I will choose a photo to work with, and I think this is the one I want to work with. I will be able to do a little bit more than within Lightroom. So I choose this photo. I will right click. I will go to edit in, and I will edit into Photoshop. So if Photoshop is not open, it will open itself. You could open it as a smart object as well if you want, but I go straight to this. Now I already done that, so I will go to Photoshop. This is my final image. Now a lot of contrast, lots of color, it's vibrant, it's nice. We're going to work from this, and we'll bring it to this level. So just to quickly show you what I've done here, if I take everything off there, I create a base layer. I always duplicate my base layer because it's a non-destructive way to work. I work brighten the water, the land, a little bit of contrast into the land. Now the color, I'll show you how to add some nice color to your background here. The mist in this specific area here, we're going to work on that mist and the pop. Now look at that nice little pop to this picture. I'll show you, it's a nice trick. So let's start from scratch. I will Command J to duplicate this layer, and I will work onto my water, so bottom all the way up. So I will create a level, and I will slide this right slider down till I am happy with the brightness of the water. Take the one in the middle, slide it towards the one on the right to create some contrast. Maybe somewhere around right here. It's actually maybe a little bit brighter. Here we go. Happy with this. What we're gonna do is we only want to apply this to the water here. So we're gonna invert this mask. I'll be doing that quite a bit here by Command I. This is how I work. There's probably a different way to do it, but with a brush, 100% opacity. A little trick for you guys to quickly change your brush: Control Alt Option key, press both of them down with your left clicking on your mouse pad or your mouse. If you go left to right, it will change the diameter, up and down the hardness of your brush. So I'll work about 50% or so with a smaller brush, and what I'll do is a white foreground. I will paint in the actual water that I want to work. I want to brighten. So always kind of like change the size of your brush. It's a constant need to do that. Now I don't want to paint in the water too much here, the white water here, because it's a nice color already. So here we go. I added some contrast. It's a little bit more detail. Now I'm doing this very quick. Take your time whenever you do that at home. I just want to show you guys quick how to do it. For the land, we're going to brighten the land. So the land behind, just find a place where you're happy. So maybe around here. I'll do the same thing. I'll invert this mask, use the brush, and then I'll brush. I paint in my land with a white foreground. I will leave the water alone. I'm not going to touch it. The waterfall, I mean, in the water. And there we go. I don't necessarily want the background here so much to be brightened. So I'll bring my opacity down to maybe 25%. Change. I will repaint a bit of that black. Darker, sorry, area around. So here again, so we brighten this image quite nicely. Now we're going to add a little bit of contrast into this. I'm not going to be going overboard with this, but we will take this curve adjustment, just do a little bit of an S looking to it. So just like this. This may be a little strong, so I can move the opacity down to that layer to maybe around just here. Again, I don't want it to be affecting the water, so what I can do is just revert this and then go to my opacity at 100% and repaint the area that I want it. And I will leave the background where the mist is without too much contrast. It will be kind of like easier to work with afterwards. So I want this rock here to be painted for sure. Create like a three-dimensional feeling to the photo. And just a little bit, not too much. I can actually bump this to maybe 70%. So here we go. I'm happy with this. Now for the coloring. I will do 2 layers, empty layers. I will go and I want to add some green to my background. So what I will do here is I will choose in my color palette somewhat of a green and a lush kind of like green, not too dark, but on the darker side. And then with my paint bucket here, I will go and paint it all in. Now, the magic happens when you change your blend mode to soft light overlay. You can mess around quite a bit. 100% is too much, so we go down to 0 and we just reapply to our liking, which in this case, I like how it looks around maybe 10, between 20 and 10, so maybe 20 too much, 15 or so. Again, I will add a layer mask to it, so if I press the Option key and press on the mask icon there, it becomes right away a black layer. So I will reveal the area that I want to bring some green into. So I will definitely not paint any green in the water. I'll leave the water as white as I can. Go. The rock here, that's not too bad. So if I look, different look already. Now I want to add a little bit of red for the leaves and the trees and the red in the background. So I'll do the same process here. I'll choose a red. So red color, red orangish color, maybe in the darker side. This paint bucket, same thing. You can try overlay if you feel like. Now it looks kind of very weird this way, but again, I'm looking to add and spark a little bit of that red into those sleeves and stuff. Now remember, I'm going to repaint everything in there. So maybe 7-10%. It's too much. 8%. I'm happy with this. I'll create a black layer mask, and now with my brush, this is where the pen and the tablet, if you work, I normally work with a Wacom Intuos Pro tablet, and it makes this kind of like so much easier process of painting small details like this. I would highly recommend using the tablet for that type of work. So now, as you can see, I'm just going around and around where I find some red into the picture. And if I want to, I'll bring the opacity to maybe 10%, and I'll brush in just a notch where it's a little larger area here when there's a little bit more red, and then I'll add up a little bit more color to it. So now if I look at it, subtle change, but still make quite a bit of difference. So I'm going to group this by command, take these two, hold command J, group, and then I didn't rename everything, but if you can rename your things. So if you press X and D back and forth, now your color went back to black and white. Okay, so now the next step is to mess around with the mist up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my top layer on the group here. I'm going to press Command, Option, Shift, E. So master key to create a copy of everything we've done so far. And basically I will go to my filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm only going to focus on here. So I just want to blur a little bit this area, which I'm kind of happy with this. We're going to go OK. And again, I will create a layer mask because I don't want the whole thing to be blurred. So with the layer mask, I will go with my brush, opacity 100%. And I will gently go here just a touch. And I want to make sure I don't go over these branches that should be clear and not blurry. If you zoom in, you should be able to get a good sense of what's happening here. So I do not want this to be blurred. Okay. So again, very subtle, but it'll create a misty effect to that area. And now I'll create a empty layer. This is white. I'm going to create a white mist with a white foreground. We're going to paint a white dot there in the middle. I'm going to go very, very, very soft on this brush. So I'm going to go wide. I'm going to go 1 there, 2, and maybe a little bit on the edge there. And that's enough. So what I'm going to do here is I will also blur. If I go Gaussian blur with the one it's already chosen, will be the same amount. I'll be happy with that amount. I will only blur that little white part there. Bring the opacity down. Maybe just add up a little bit like that. And if you want to change this to basically screen, it's a good one. Normally to work with the light and stuff. So now we added up a little bit of mist. Now I want to be careful again and not go over these branches. So what I'm going to do here is create a mask. I will leave that one white though. We'll go like this, and then I'm going to zoom in and just make sure that my branches are not and again do a better job at home. Just take your time. So again, create like some 3D effect. So here we go. So we created our misty feel. I'm gonna regroup this. Okay, sorry, just like this. We'll get the color, mist, and then the final touch for the popping to add contrast a little bit to your color. So here is a very good trick. Again, I'm gonna create a master copy. Command Option Shift E. Once that's done, I will go to my channels, which I have here. RGB. Press Command. Press on this channel here, and then what will happen there is we'll have a selection, and with that selection you can go back to history after this if you want. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna press Command J to duplicate this layer, and then we're gonna delete this one. We don't need it anymore. And then now we go to Overlay, Soft Light, Hard Light. I kind of like these three. Normally this is what I normally try. You can try, sorry, Screen is another. You can try, it's still too light for this, but I will definitely go to either soft light or hard light. It kind of look good to me. I look at the mist on top of the waterfall as well. I like this spread a little bit better. You're gonna bring the opacity down all the way up and find a happy medium in between. So for me around 70%. Now look at this. This is a neat trick. It adds some contrast, and does add up a little bit to your color as well. And here it is. We're going to regroup all these together, and then create a group, and this will be a final. Before and after. It's not too far from what we had before. Quite a bit of difference. A little bit took more time. I did add up a little bit more green and color in the other version, but again, you can see how you can manage to do a lot of different things, and it's just fun to mess around anyway and see what you can produce. So basically, from this base picture to this or that, or whatever you guys come up with. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Feel free to give me some feedback, and if you guys want to see some different videos, if you have any ideas, just let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye.